Welcome to the Irn Cru, an NFL podcast made in Scotland discussing America's game. It's Thursday night, so it must be time for the Week 7 preview crew. I'm your host Dan, and joining me tonight are some of the finest crew members. After his predictions last week, it takes a lot to bet against your team, but to be fair, who can blame him? It's Pat's fan Scud. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. Glad it's this point of the week and I can chill out for the weekend now.
Excellent, glad to hear it, mate. Also joining us, this guy's appearance on the pod could not have been timed any better. Still hasn't wiped that smug look off his face from Sunday night. The Eagles were shot out of the sky by his mighty Jets for their first ever victory against the Eagles. It's Pat. Have you stopped celebrating yet?
What a win! What a win! Just shows you. You know what I mean? Even with a banged up team, we're still competitive. I think it's still promising.
Yeah,
what do you make faces? What do you make faces at, Scud?
Nothing. No comment.
You just can't bring yourself to praise the Jets. That's what it is.
That's it.
To be fair, he's hung on well in that game. You could kind of see it coming after the 49ers. You could see the same pattern happening in your game as well. Yeah, excellent. And we mentioned this in previous podcasts about, I think it was one of my, it was a statistic of the week that he said never beat the Eagles in history. So it's your first ever win over the Eagles. Some stats. Talking about history, let's have a look at the kickoff question for this week. So we put this up on the socials earlier on. So tonight's kickoff question is, what's the worst NFL play of all time? And there's loads to choose from. And this comes on the back of it being, I think it's the 8th year anniversary of the fake punt by the Colts that shouldn't have been snapped, but was snapped, and there was no line, and they get smashed. So, Pat, you start us off. What's in your mind? What's the worst NFL play of all time?
So I'll probably a bit of recency bias in mine. So mine's isn't that long ago. But also I think, in terms of sort of big moments and big games, there's probably no bigger moment in this one that happened, and it's Super Bowl 49. The famous interception with 20 seconds left in the clock.
Beautiful.
Really good game, back and forth. Russell Wilson's got cooking, 2-minute drill, fourth quarter. They get to the 1 yard line with 20 seconds to go. They've got Marshawn Lynch there, ready for beast mode, 3 attempts to run it in, and he tries to throw it. Honest to God, like it could have been the start of a dynasty. In the end, that was probably they've never been near it again. So just in terms of sort of big moments, big plays, for me that's the worst play ever. Like, why the hell would they throw that ball and not run it? And that's really when I was starting to get into NFL and stuff like that as well. So it kind of sticks in the memory for me, that one.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those questions that will be asked for all time in NFL. It's never ever going to be answered. One of those ones that will always be asked, why did that happen? Yes, that's a great shout. Scud, what's your own one?
I say there's plenty to choose from. That wasn't that bad play. That was just beautiful play, Pat. You got that one all wrong. No, to me, I'll go butt fumble. And Pat should have picked that one because that was a glorious play by Sanchez. Couldn't have got any better. But no, to me, I loved that play. That was just more comical than anything else, to be perfectly honest. It was more just that it's up there with Love looking like he's steaming, running into the back of the old line. That was just brilliant plays. But no, to me, that was one of the craziest plays I've seen, fumbling it off the centre's arse, for a better word. It
was certainly one of the funniest ones. I'll give you that.
I could have went to the one last year, but I'm no one to talk about it yet. The Patriots.
Two great choices, guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick I've got a list here of the 25 worst plays in NFL history, so I'm going to go through a couple of them, and I'll tell you what my favourite one is. So this one I didn't know of, and if Craig's listening along, he'll be... No, in fact, it doesn't matter, because it was Washington he played for at the time. So Kirk Cousins, he's having a great game, and he's driving down the field at the end of the game, and he gets to the 6 yard line, and there's 6 seconds left in the clock. So what you're going to do is take the ball, spike it, stop the clock, so they can either go for a touchdown or kick a field goal. What does Kirk Cousins do? He takes a step back and accidentally takes a knee instead of spiking the ball and ran the clock out.
That's brilliant.
It's just mental. What was the other one? There's a couple of ones I had as well. There was one where Tim Tebow ran backwards for 30 yards and gets sacked. another cracker. The Minnesota Miracle, that was another cracker. How did he catch that ball and not be tackled? But the one I'm going to go for was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their punter Michael Cohen. So he obviously takes a snap to punt the ball, and the punt's blocked. So he picks the ball back up. And you think, what are we going to do? So he decides, I'll throw it, and throws an interception on the same play as he punt blocked at the same time. How could that have went any worse? So the Chiefs returned it for a pick six, obviously, as well. So it just confounded it for them. But the Bucs still won the game 38-10. That was before the Chiefs were any good, to be fair to them.
Still no good.
I will.
That's just for studs.
Look, he's on a boat somewhere in the Mediterranean. He'll not hear that.
Oh, trust me. I can't say that. That's not nice.
Excellent couple of choices there, guys, on the kickoff question. So this week we've got 3 cracking games to discuss. For the 6 teams we're talking about tonight, 4 of them have won a Super Bowl, one's lost a Super Bowl, and one's never even been to a Super Bowl. Yeah. So we're going to start with the team that have never won a Super Bowl or never been in a Super Bowl, and it's the Lions. The 5-1 Lions. Who would have thought we would have said that? Apart from probably a lot of us in the crew, because we all like Dan Campbell. They're away to the Ravens this week. Number 3 in the NFC versus number 3 in the AFC. Pat, how's this one going to play out?
I think it's going to be a cracker. I think it's going to be a really good game. Glad you picked it. We'll start off with Baltimore. 4-2 this year. Lamar's playing some good stuff again. There's a lot of talk of him obviously being back to his MVP best. Personally, I don't think he's quite at that level yet. But, there's still a lot of chat going on, especially if you read a lot of sort of the press in Baltimore, like I've been doing, trying to research this. Good, solid team. But again, the foundations of the Baltimore team is built on that defence. They've got defence is looking really solid. Obviously, they've got Roquan Smith in there. Now he's been there for 12 months, looking the part. Patrick Queen, obviously, beside him, looking again. He's learning all the time, looking scary. I think they're number 1 in the pass rush just now. They're really, really solid defence. So for that side of the ball, really good, keeping them in games. Offensively, I think they're struggling. I think they're winning games, and they're 4-2, and I think they're favourites to win this game by all the bookmakers. But I still don't see them as a finished article. I think they've still got some weaknesses up front. So as much as Lamar's probably playing a lot better, he's got Mark Andrews, obviously, as his primary weapon, who's always been there at tight end. Zay Flowers is having a great rookie season. I think we all tipped Zay Flowers to do well this year. But then you've got, for me, massive disappointments in OBJ, Rashad Bateman. I think they don't really have the weapons beyond the tight end and a rookie. So I think they're only an injury away from a crisis. With Baltimore, I think, as I say, a really good team doing well just now. Obviously in a really tough division, as we all know. But I don't know if they've necessarily got the strength and depth to continue competing. They actually remind me a lot of the Vikings last year. They had a really good record, but actually, flat to deceive. And as soon as they come into the postseason, they were done, one and done. I think they could be quite similar this year, Baltimore. But don't worry about Doom England, because they're doing quite well. So you kind of sort of diss their 4-2 record. And I'm sure some teams would love to have a 4-2 record, Scud, wouldn't they?
Just love to have a winning record, mate. Exactly.
Looking at that depth that the Ravens have got there, so obviously you spoke about Zay Flowers. He's having a. He's probably still not broke out properly yet.
No, it's not. Absolutely.
But he's definitely been their biggest weapon out wide. Like you say, OBJ's and all that. And Bateman, I think people coming into the season maybe expected a lot out of him because he was effectively the number 1 receiver for them. Obviously, they lost Dobbins as well, which wouldn't have helped them. But why need to run it back when you've got Lamar Jackson there anyway? But even when he's been out, nobody's really stepped up. Justice Hill had a couple of games where he kind of stepped up. Gus Edwards has looked okay, but the running game's not really got going from that.
No, it's not. And actually, you talk about Lamar as well. I think they've really changed how they're using him as well in the offense. He's not running as many plays as what he used to. He's not scattering across the field the way he used to. I think they're trying to protect him a bit more on that front. But you're right, Gus Edwards isn't the answer. Justice Hill showed some sparks here and there. Obviously, he's got speed to burn. I think obviously he's been used more for that side, and obviously Gus has been used more as a sort of battering ram at times. But yeah, I think they're weak up front. That's a the big issue I've got with Baltimore at this point in time.
Just put up Jackson's stats here. So he's rushed for 327 yards so far this season, on 60 rushes. So
I think most of them won't be design plays. They'll be scampering and taking what he can get, whereas usually they were running a lot of design plays for him. It's only got to be good for him, because if he's got that threat and they can still chuck the ball and get that threat behind him, that's good to have.
Yeah. But looking at out of his 60 attempts, if you think back to the Lamar Jackson all used to, his longest run out of those 60 attempts is 26 yards. Which, thinking back, when they had those design quarterback runs, he was going half the field on those plays. I mean, so now it's like, okay, we'll design a play where he's going to get his first down maybe, but we're not designing plays, like you said, around him effectively being a running back anymore.
Well, they've paid him now, so they've got to protect him. So
he's getting that money.
That thing as well.
Exactly. They can't take any risks now.
Yeah, that's it. Well, you've now invested in you, so you're just not going to run anymore.
Pretty much, yeah.
Talking about the Ravens defense, what is it with the Ravens and making defenses, by the way? What's the secret formula they've got? Scud, what's your thoughts?
I don't know. I want them all drug tested. No, no matter what they've got, they can get rid of some big players, and then the next minute they've just got the next man up in the defense just performing the same levels. It's scary. Must be coaching. I can only think of things that it can't. That has to be that, because they're bringing the guys through the right way, playing the right way, and they've just got a really nice system that they work for, and they've drafted really well for their defense all the time. Same can't be said for their wide receiver, but I think Zay Flowers might break that trend. But I think when they're drafting for defense, they're solid every single time. I don't see them taking much. Don't know them in depth, but I can't remember somebody who went for a good player and they drafted, etc., and whiffed on.
Yeah.
From knowledge.
Sorry, you pal, you go.
No, that's me. I'll finish it.
Looking at their depth chart, you look at, obviously, in the past you had players like Ray Lewis, big names that stood out in that defence, but they seem to be building a defensive unit now. I wouldn't say any of the players are massive standout players. Do you know what I mean? Like Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen in that linebacker role do an excellent job for them. Obviously got Clowney on the line as well. They picked up Kyle Van Noy in the off-season. You've seen a lot of him, Scud.
Yep.
And at the back end, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey are good players to have in that position as well. And somebody that they've kind of missed a lot this year, which we were hoping as Scottish people to see a lot more of, was David Ojabo this year as well. Obviously, he's injured, so they've got a good unit there that works together as a defence, which is probably key, isn't it, Pat?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I think defensively they're absolutely sound, and they're actually really good to watch. I think I said this before in a previous pod that actually, in terms of sort of AFC teams, I think there's so many teams with stacked defences. And actually, whoever goes to the Super Bowl is going to be the one that survives this year. So I think there's so many great defences that they're up against. But certainly Baltimore's up there as one of them.
Yeah, that's excellent. So let's flip over to the lines then, Pat. Give us your rundown on the lines so far.
So I think probably our listeners are probably fed up of us listening or waxing lyrical about the Lions, as we all seem to do time after time. Obviously, we're all huge fans. We see the journey they've been on this past 24 months. Made some really good draft picks. Rejuvenated Jared Goff. Turned him into a really solid quarterback. I'm so impressed with the Lions. The big probably criticism we had of them last year was that they ran out of steam. Their defense wasn't as good last year. Their offense was really exciting to watch, but defensively, obviously, they just let too many points slip. I think they won 8 games in the trot or something last year, and everyone was sort of jumping out their seats thinking that was it. They'd already arrived. I think they've had a really good sort of pre-season. Obviously, they've built again from the draft, and yeah, they're looking quite scary. And again, looking at some of the rookies coming in, like so excited to see Jahmyr Gibbs coming in at the start of the season. He's just not kicked on yet. Hopefully now with Monty out for the week, we might see what happens this week. If he's actually fit and ready to go. But I think the one thing about the Lions is they've got a decent run game, which is what for me the Baltimore don't have. They've also got the weapons and the Sun God and St. Brown. They're going to get Jameson Williams back, who's obviously going to be that deep threat, and you've seen that at the weekend there. So for me, they're stacked in the offense. And then obviously the defense has just got better and better. Aidan Hutchinson's now looking like our round one pick as he was obviously last year, really growing into the role. And they're just really exciting. Obviously they've added the tight end, Samuel Porter and stuff like that. Again, we're told time and time again that tight ends take 2, 3, 4 years to develop in the NFL. You know, we've seen so many sort of really promising rookies. Kyle Pitt's probably been prime example that just never really kicked on. I think Laporta's come in and he kind of looks. He's no elite just yet. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to even make that argument. You can certainly see that he's got a place in that team right away. So I think they're stacked, and I think that for me is what's really exciting about the Lions this year. You can see that they have kicked on, and because they've sorted things out in the defensive side of the ball as well, I think they're going to go quite far. And obviously they're on a 4-game winning streak just now. It's no fluke, you know. I don't think we can all be sitting here surprised anymore. I think we can safely say that we've seen this coming. We've all been sort of watching their progress. And yeah, it's really exciting. It gives us hope for my team as well that we can get there one day.
Yeah, I think as you say, it's not a surprise the Lions are doing well, but I still don't think at any point we're maybe expecting them to be 5-1 and join top of the NFC at this point. I think we expect them to have a good season, but Scott, as someone who has had a coach for however many years Bill Belichick's been there, and players really buy into Bill Belichick, and they always have done, how important is it for a team like the Lions, who are going through that transition, to have a coach like Dan Campbell, who the players look like they'll run through a brick wall for him?
You can tell it's priceless. You can't beat it. That's part of the secret sauce, so to speak. You can tell they're a team playing for each other. I mean, that play last week when Reynolds threw the block in for St. Brown for that touchdown, he just would have ran through and done anything to get that block for him. And that to me is the Dan Campbell effect. He's got that effect. He's got them all willing to run through a brick wall, but they're all together. They're all pulling the same direction. There's no prima donna like your Diggs and all that saying, "Oh, I want the ball, you need to give me it." He's not got anything like that. It's a team. First and foremost, it's a team. Individuals, no, they're all playing together, pulling the same direction, and I think that's priceless. And that's why I find it fascinating to watch, because they've not maybe got the best group of skill players. Don't get me wrong, they've got some good skill players, but they're playing for each other. They're all playing as a team rather than the prima donnas. They're all wanting to be out there themselves, getting their name in the headlines. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. That's why I enjoy watching them most, because that you get that feeling from watching them.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think they've got a 3-game lead in the division. The Packers are a game back. They've their bye week. So the division, I think it was maybe last week we spoke about this, and the division is definitely theirs to lose. You just think they are still team in transition, and you don't want to be one of these things where they go too far, a year too early, and it kind of stunts that. You want them to kind of still grow, and I think they're definitely a team to watch out for the next couple of years anyway. Like you say, Aidan Hutchinson on the other side of the ball, Pat, he's really starting to come forward now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's looks quite frightening. And again, that's probably the guy that we were expecting last year. Again, I think he showed glimpses of it last year. But it just shows you another year on, maturing all the time, learning from the guys running about him. And like you say, good coach as well. I don't think the Lions are right there yet. I don't think they're one of the elite teams yet, but they're certainly, you can still see they've made massive strides this year. As for their division, I think they'll walk it this year. If you look at the other teams in the division, they've not really got much competition on that front. The rest of them seem to be in a decline, whereas they're the only ones that are projecting up the way.
I don't think they're a finished thing that you said there, Pat. They're finished, they're not all the way there yet, but I can still see them getting, if they get to which I think they will, the playoffs, I still see them getting a playoff win. They're good enough to get maybe a win in the playoffs. They won't maybe not go all the way or go far, but I think they're good enough to get a win in the playoffs this season.
Yeah, I'm thinking a one-off game, they can go toe-to-toe with anyone, yeah.
I'm just pulling up their schedule for the rest of the season. Obviously, we spoke about the Vikings, and when it got to the playoffs last year, and they really had to play a team that mattered, they struggled. So the Lions for the rest of the season, so far, so I'm just looking at, obviously, they beat the Chiefs, obviously, week 1. since then, they've obviously got the Ravens this week. The next proper big challenge is probably against the Cowboys, the second last game of the season. That's probably their next big challenge. So if they can come out of that, hopefully not, but if they can come out of a game against the Cowboys where they can pick up a win that close to the pro season, it shows them that they can then go and win those type of games when it matters. Yep. Right, predictions time, guys. Pat, you started this game, so where do you see this one going?
I think it's a close game, but I think the Lions, if Gibbs is fit and good to go, I can see the Lions winning
it. Scott?
Did he ask me the Lions?
I'm just to say that, seeing if there is any sign of an injury report yet. It's probably a wee bit early, but let me just have a quick check.
I don't think they've not officially ruled Monty out yet. I think he's doubtful, but that normally means he's not going to play, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was going to look to see how Gibbs has been training this week.
He's been limited, I think, all week, but maybe they're just holding him back.
Yeah, he's been limited, and Montgomery did not participate in the last training session. So, and now the Reynolds either. So at the moment, they've got 3 running backs are limited in practice. So it looks like Gibbs is probably trending more towards it, unless they're just protecting Montgomery ahead of the weekend and not having train as much. So, yeah, I'm going to make this a full house and go with the Lions as well. I just really like what they're doing this season. Okay, right. I've got a bit of statistic for you right in the middle of the podcast. I'm going to pull up a statistic for you. I looked at all the teams across the NFL, right? I'm going to ask you, if you could pick a team who is only averaging 2 points in the fourth quarter of all their games this season, who would it be?
Denver.
Pat?
Pats.
So, neither of those.
We're minus.
Right. This team are second bottom of the NFL for points in the fourth quarter. Bottom is the Cardinals, who are averaging 1.2 points in the fourth quarter. Second bottom with 2 points is the Chiefs. They have not scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter this season yet. All been field goals. So, on the back of that, they are 5.
They've not had 2 either, have they? That's the other thing.
Well, that is also true. Butker's got them enough points in the game that's kept them going.
Yeah.
So Chiefs are 5-1. The Chargers are 2-3. The Chargers are averaging 6.8 points in the fourth quarter. So Chiefs fans better hope it doesn't come down to the fourth quarter. Well, it's good.
Hopefully. I do think this will be. I don't know. The both teams, I'd say, and the Chargers are doing what Chargers do best: be in games and not get there. You've seen that for yourself last week, then against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But I think the Chiefs are winning. I can't slag MD's winning records this year, especially. But they're flattering to deceive, in my opinion. I think they're getting the wins, they're getting them dirty. Hopefully, that means they're building up to it. But I just find them a hard watch. I think the game last week was, I was baffled by how much they struggled. As you say, Butker's winning games for them. There's not much on the offense. Even Kelsey was struggling to get involved in the game, which surprised me. I know he might not be 100%. He's trying to play through something, but the running game was, I just don't think, the running game has not been at it either, to be honest with you. The defence has been holding up okay, but I just don't know. It's just, I don't know what's wrong, or if that's them just building up and they'll come good come the business end of the season. But it's just, the Chargers probably have got potential to cause a banana skin for them here, similar to what the Lions did. They've got the team, they've got the offense to go. Yeah, they're missing Williams, the Chargers, but they've still got some decent weapons there to help cause an upset. But it'll be an interesting game, and I do think, similar to the first game we talked about, this has got the potential to be closer than what some people might think. I mean, I'm not sure what the spread is on it. What is it? 5.5. They've got it in the Chiefs' favour, but still a touchdown game. But I think it potentially could be even closer than that and be won by a field goal. As you said, if it goes later, it goes. They've not got a record they're going. And it's not as if you can say Kansas City have been coasting it and not needed to score in the last quarter. So it's not as if they've been blowing teams out and the reserves are coming on for the fourth quarter. That's not been the case. So it must be concerning in a way where you're having to do that the hard way. But it's Patrick Mahomes at the end of the day and Andy Reid, so they generally will find a way. But you can't keep on the line in that. You need everybody else to be there. And I don't know, the wide receivers are meh.
Yeah, well, they've had. I'm not going to bum this up as if it's a big deal. They've already added Nicole Hardman today, but again, is he any more than average? Is he what they needed? Is he going to give them anything that a Sky Moore or Rashie Rice, Marcus Van de Scanlon hasn't given them already?
No, but they can take Thingmy back, but if they want Juju Smith-Schuster. Sorry.
Looking at the Chiefs' schedule so far this year, right? So they're obviously 5-1, right? And I'm not going to disparage other teams here by saying this, but they have played the Lions, who we know they lost to, the Jaguars, the Bears, the Jets, the Vikings, and the Broncos. They should, in theory, be round about 5-1. I mean, so they've not really been tested this year. So if they're not playing at that level against teams who they probably should be beating, what's going to happen when they come up against a challenge? And that could potentially be this week in the Chargers. What have you made so far of the season, part of the Chiefs?
So first and foremost, they're 5-1. So hats off to them. You know, they've got Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid, as Scud said. I think with Pat Mahomes, you've got a cheat code there. You know what I mean? He's always going to win games out of nothing, and he's got that ability just by himself. I've been really disappointed, like you guys have already mentioned. Their wide receiving group, just it's not to say it's rubbish, but it's just no done anything this year. It's just no excited me at all this year. I had really big hopes with Sky Moore in his second year, and Rashie Rice obviously have come in with a big reputation through the draft that they're actually going to do something. It's just not happened thus far. As I say, we're only 6 games in, so there's still plenty of time for everyone. But they've completely underwhelmed. And obviously, they do have a 5-1 record. They beat the Jets. I don't want to seem bitter or anything like that, but I think there were some really dodgy calls on that with the referees. I think I genuinely do believe that was a game that they get really lucky in, and there'll probably been a few games like this year where there's like one decision has swung a few games in their favour, rightly or wrongly. But yeah, they've got a 5-1 record. I think again, they're going to be there or thereabouts. Is McCall Hardman the answer to all their problems? Probably not. I wouldn't imagine. So is this the guy who couldn't get a game for the Jets? I mean, we were fielding rookies ahead of him. We just didn't get anywhere near the start lineup. But obviously he's got that relationship with Mahomes. He's got a relationship with Andy Reid. I'm sure they'll find a role for him. I say you can't be too down on somebody that's 5-1, but are they the best to watch? Not at this point in time, but they've got one stud in there that can change a game in an instant. So they'll always be in games. For me, going up against the Chargers this weekend, it's intriguing because the Chargers, they like to. We've seen it time and time again. They run games so close and then lose in the last minute, and the Chiefs aren't scoring points in the last quarter, as you've just said. So let's see how it pans out. It'll be a good one.
Yeah. Do you think the Chiefs are running the risk of, and this might be with you, Scott, the Patriots always done well with average receivers because they had Tom Brady. Yeah. They never have had that elite receiver or receiving core. Are the Chiefs, in a way, trying to replicate that? And it's maybe starting to backfire a wee bit because the reliance on Kelsey's always been there. But when that option's not there, where does it go? Do you think they're not? I'm not saying they're trying to copy what the Patriots done, but do you think they're running a risk of doing the same thing but not getting the same results?
Yeah, I think they've got all these guys. They had Tyreek Hill, and obviously explosive. He's called Cheetah, is for a reason. But I think they need a solid, dependable guy in the slants, just the short passes. Tom Brady's made people's careers off that. Your Edelmans and your Amendolas and before your Welkers. He's made people's careers just doing the short stuff, the easy stuff. They don't seem to have MD for that role.
Yeah,
I think that's what's missing massively from it. You've got your field stretchers, you've got people who got to run downfield, but where's the easy pass and not having to always rely on Kelsey to be that player? And I wind studs up about Kelsey. He might, but he's not a good tight end. He's a great tight end, but he's just not the best. But he's solid. He's always there. But if he's the only person doing it in the middle of the field, he's going to get injured. He's getting that bit older. It's going to be more and more regular. He's getting injured. So they need to try and get that balance right in their midfield, and their defense, and their offense. But if you look at the next,
maybe get. Oh, sorry, Scott. Who you go, mate?
No, you go. I was just going to talk about. You talk about that. Their games. They've got Miami, Philly, Buffalo, Patriots, Cincinnati, and Chargers away still to come. That's 5 difficult games this year. So if they don't start performing, they'll soon start going down the way. Sorry, Pat.
No, they've got the Dolphins and Eagles back to back. I think that'll be 2 good weeks to see how far they're progressing. No, the other thing I was going to say is, do you think there's maybe some distraction with Kelsey now and all the stuff that's going on around about, with obviously the whole Taylor Swift thing and all the rest of it? Do you think that's maybe adding a distraction to his play?
Potentially, because he's not really been the same since all that came more and more. Obviously, he is injured, so we don't know how much he's trying to deal with that injury. But he's not been the same player for the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And obviously the big hoopla about is Taylor Swift got to be there. You see Mary Hearn, you do the fucking field when you're watching the game. But so it is a bit of a distraction. And it reminds me, I watched the thing about David Beckham, and it reminds me him being the posh spice and the coach no liking the fact that all the attention's out in the stands. But it's a big distraction for the full team, to be honest with you, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Kelsey, not that I've ever noticed, it didn't seem to maybe ever be someone that was like a big media personality. Kind of seemed to keep himself to himself, and suddenly he's in the spotlight. I mean, that could be what you're saying. It could be causing a distraction for him and the team. Yeah, it's an interesting one to see how that plays out. Tell them not to come to a couple of games and see if they play better, and then you can get a judgment of how it's going to go. Flipping over to the Chargers, pretty weird start to the season for them. The Chargers, I think we all expected to kick on this season. They found themselves at 2-3. I'm just going to pull up the start of the season, so I can't remember who they've played. So Dolphins, Titans, Vikings, Raiders, Cowboys. That was the start of the season. So they ran the Dolphins close. In fact, Chargers, every one of the Chargers games, they've been less than 7 points in it.
Yeah,
7 points.
Play game.
Yeah. I mean, the first 3 games, they lost by 2, they lost by 3, they won by 4. So, like you say, they are right in the game. It's just they just can't seem to punch it over the line sometimes.
I think in that, the biggest surprise is the defeat to Tennessee. The other ones, getting beat off Dallas and Miami, isn't bad, but getting beat off Tennessee, that's the big result in there. That's when Chargers are doing what Chargers do best.
Yeah,
but they've had some big injuries. Obviously, they've been missing Eckler and they've been missing Williams, like you said as well. Like, so, these guys weren't around for those games, were they?
Yeah. So now they've got them. They've started. It's Eckler. I believe he's fine for this week. How's this one going to start? How's this one going to start? How the Chargers going to go on this week, Pat?
I think they've got to come out all guns blazing. I think we're going to see the big arm of Justin Herbert in the first half. Yeah, I can see the Chargers actually racing into lead in this. So I can see them. It's whether or not they can actually keep it. Because the big thing I've got with the Chargers are, I think they're bottle merchants. So I can see them racing into an early lead, quite a substantial lead actually. But it's whether or not they can sustain it and whether or not Kansas can obviously catch them, which inevitably they always do.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, Keenan Allen's obviously key to them. He had a decent game against us last week. We maybe gave him a bit of an easy touchdown. But he's going to be key. If Herbert's going to perform at the level that he can be, he's going to need Keenan Allen to come along with him. What's your thoughts on Keenan Allen, Scott?
I think he's brilliant. I think it's stupid to say he might be underrated, but I do think he doesn't get a lot of the credit he does deserve. He's to me, he's a fantastic wide receiver. And I think I just seen there that against the Vikings, he had 215 yards that game this year. He's going really well. And to me, with Williams been out, he's key. But the thing is, when Williams been out, is it going to be easy enough to try and mark him out of the game? That's where the sort of maybe issues will come.
Yeah.
Because they've not got a lot of depth in behind them. You've got Palmer, etc. But really, Keenan Allen and Williams is what you're after, to have them both. And Eckler coming back last year and getting, I think he got over 100 yards last week as well, coming back. So that's encouraging to see he's back full fitness and going at it again. So they have got the weapons. And Herbert, I think, if he was in a better coached team, I think he would be winning a lot more and doing a lot better, personally. The guy's talent's ridiculous.
Huge Justin Herbert fan. I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback throw the ball as naturally and as easily as he can. Just pulling up Keenan Allen's stats for a second. Over his career, so bear in mind he's been in the league now about 10 years, he's averaging 11.7 yards per catch. For over that length of period of a career, there's only been 1 year where it was less than 10 yards a catch, and it was 9.9 yards a catch. Do you know what I mean? And I think he is underrated. And I think it's maybe a very similar situation to Herbert with the team that he's in. The team's not been successful. He's not getting the credit for how good a player he really is. He's went over his, I think it's only been 1 year over the last 6 where he's not had over 1,000 yards. I'm going to give him, there was one he had 992. I'm going to give him that one, right? But I think last year, I think it was 750 yards. He's not talked in that high echelon of wide receivers, but surely he's got to be higher rated than he is. Pat, what's your thoughts on him?
No, I agree. I think he totally goes under the radar. Whether that's because they've never had any real success, you might be right in that front. But I think if you took a Keenan Allen and stuck him in the Chiefs, for example, they become a superstar overnight.
Oh, no doubt, 100%.
So no, I agree with you. And like you say, he's not just he's not a one season wonder. He's done it consistently over the course of his career.
Yeah. Excellent. On the other side of the ball for the Chargers then, so we spoke about it just before we came on about the need to up the defence, and we spoke about Joey Bosa. I can't believe we forgot about Khalil Mack, because what a start the season he's had.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pull up his stats. I can't fill up. So, let's talk about Khalil Mack while I pull his stats up. So, tell us all about Khalil Mack.
Oh, it was massive. Is it the one game he had like 5 in one game or something? 5 sacks. It was just destroyed them, but it was just he was looking back to his best, and that's what you need him to perform. Joey Bosa to perform, but I just think they're lacking in the secondary. Unfortunately, the backfield, because JC Jackson didn't work out. He's now back at us, but again, I think that's just the way he was trying to get used. And Bill Belichick gets bit something out of players, as you said about. Talk about his coaching matter, of course it does. And Bill Belichick's always got the best out of people who shouldn't really be getting it out of him, if that makes sense. But I do think Mac being fully fit and going again can only be good for the Chargers and their chances this season.
Yeah. Khalil Mack's stats this season, he's had 16 tackles, and of those 16, 7 of them have been sacks. It's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? And that's obviously only in 5 games. I mean, I think obviously it was at the Giants. So was it the Giants that they destroyed? I can't remember now. Who did they get all those sacks against? Was it the Giants?
I can't remember. I watched it, and it just seemed to be every single play seemed to be him sacking the quarterback. It was ridiculous.
Aye, it was. He is one of those elite players at that back end. Joey, like you say, Joey Bosa as well. Yeah, that's one thing that probably lets them down is the rest of their defense. If you've got 2 players like that, you need to have players around about that can pick up the slack as well. And you say the back end, they're really struggling at the back end. Something that came out a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the Chargers, was Bruce Staley. If he doesn't turn this around over the next couple of games, is he in a hot seat? What do you think, Pat?
What do you mean by turning it around? Because obviously they're 2-3 just now.
Yeah.
They beat off Miami and Dallas, which you'd probably expect. Probably the big outlier there is the Titans that they beat in overtime. Obviously, they're third in the division just now, behind the Raiders, but you'd expect them to overtake the Raiders. No bother. So they're the second best team in the division. So should pushing the Chiefs. Absolutely, that's got to be their ambition. We hear it time and time again at the start of every season how, you know, they're the new game in town and all the rest of it, and then it just never seems to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's too early in the season for me to be talking about whether or not his job's on the line. I think you'd probably wait in the next few games, see what happens. This is obviously a big test. Obviously, it's a division game this weekend. We've talked already about how neither of us think that the Chiefs are firing all cylinders. So it'd be really obviously good to see how that goes. But I don't think just now is the time to be talking about people's jobs, certainly from a Chargers point of view. But certainly if things don't progress, if it continues this sort of mediocrity, then absolutely, I think there will need to be some sort of change made. But I think it's too early to make any sort of drastic calls at this point in time. I don't think the losses they've had, barring the Titans, are unexpected to date.
Yeah, fair point. Let's get predictions. We've done a good bit of chatting that game there. Scud, where's this one going?
I say every week. It must be true 1 week. I go with the Chargers.
Pat?
Well, I said obviously the Chargers have got to come out the blocks fast and Kansas will catch them. Will the Chargers run out of steam again? Probably. Chiefs.
This is a hard one. I think at some point the way they're playing the Chiefs is going to backfire on them, and at some point the Chargers really need to be able to play to their ability. I think that could be this week. I think the Chargers will take a big step forward, and I think the Chiefs might get caught out here. I'm going to go Chargers on this one actually. Right. Right. I'm a bit of a playing geek, so I'm going to use a bit of a playing analogy for this, but intro to this next game, right? So I'm assuming everybody knows what an F-15 fighter jet is, right? So the description of an F-15 fighter jet and why it's so successful is its unprecedented maneuverability, acceleration, range, weapons, and avionics. Surely that just describes the Dolphins' offense. But given that the Eagles struggled against the Jets last week, see what I'm doing there, fighter jets. Well, they bounced back this week against the Dolphins, and I've cursed it the last 2 weeks because I've picked game of the week and they're both in fact, the last 3 weeks I've picked games of the week and they're all disappointed. And I don't want to really say this will be game of the week for the same thing, but surely this is game of the week, Scud.
I'm not saying anything because it's on you. If it's the game of the week and it flatlines again, it's nothing to do with me. Nah, all joking aside, definitely it's got the potential. It's 2 5-1 teams going head to head. You've got the Eagles who won't be happy, and Pat, you got the win last week, but I don't know how you got the win last week, but at the same time, well, you shouldn't have. That's what I'm trying to say. But no, it will be interesting to see what happens with how they've got to react from getting beat last week. You could have somebody who's like the wounded animal for getting beaten, they're raging and come out and demolish somebody. But how do you demolish Dolphins? But the Bills done that this year so far. But they just seem to be building steam back up again. So to me, it's a fascinating game. I think it'll be a high scoring game. We think both teams got the ability to score points at will. So I do think it's going to be a high scoring game.
Let's start by talking about, and we talk a lot about them because they're amazing. But keep talking about, is this Miami offense? I'm going to throw a couple of stats out there. They lead the NFL on both sides of the offense. So they're averaging just about 182 yards a game. Their passing is just about 317 yards a game. In over 6 games, they're averaging 499 yards per game. And that's the second highest in history over 6 games. The only team that had averaged more was Kurt Warner's Rams. That's the only team.
Showing tough.
Yeah. So, Pat, what is so good about this Miami offense?
The balance. They've got the balance right. They've managed to sort of get the perfect balance of having a really good wide receiver room and a smash and run game. Even Mostert, who's been a joke figure amongst us in fantasy football leagues for years because of all his injuries and all the rest of it. They've had 18 months out of him who's been fully fit. and you see the benefit of him when he's fit. You actually see he's a top running back when he's fit. They bring in the guy A-Chain, who's just a young guy, and look what he's done this year. Like, it's unbelievable what he's done this year. In between that, they're spending mega bucks, obviously, on Cheetah. Again, when Cheetah went to Miami and compared Tua to Patrick Mahomes, we all laughed. We're all like, no, what are you talking about? I mean, you're just saying that 'cause you're getting paid. The stats back it up. The stats are backing up that actually the arm of Tua and the records they're setting this year together is, it's nothing. It's far better than what the Chiefs are able to do, albeit they've not won anything. So let's caveat it on that front. But they've got the perfect balance just now. That's it. And the big thing as well is they've obviously invested heavily in the defense now as well. Again, last year, big issue in Miami was defensively they weren't that good. They fell short defensively. Start of the year, they're really excited to watch. Their offense last year looked scarily good as well. Then Tua got injured, they get banged up, and then obviously you seen they were a very different animal after that. But this year they've come out of the blocks and they've been on fire. It's been brilliant to watch, so exciting to watch. It's hard to root for them though. I'm finding it difficult.
That's why I came to you first. I just realised I could have went to either of these. I just realised that as I said that I could have went to either of these. A player who I really like, and I'm not going to say he doesn't get the credit because he certainly does, but I think sometimes he's a bit overshadowed by Tyreek Hill, is Jalen Waddle. He is a phenomenal wide receiver.
Absolutely.
Scott, I know I'm talking to you both. I'm trying to get you both to pick up the Dolphins here, and it goes against everything you think of. But how good is Jalen Waddle?
He's a wide receiver one in our team. He's a cracking. He's a big bit of a boy. He's solid. He's fast. He's everything you want in a wide receiver. To be honest with you, if Tyreek Hill wasn't in this team, he would be wide receiver one easily. But the fact you've got both of them, it just proves impossible to defend against. You do them. It's just. I say the only thing I'd say they're missing in the full thing is a tight end, but they had Gesicki in that last year and didn't use him, so maybe that's just he doesn't want to use a tight end in his offense.
Yeah,
but that's the one thing I would think they would be missing in that sort of mix.
Yeah,
but
look at it. Sorry, on your pal. Sorry.
No, that's what you want me. I'm trying to just probably got.
Look at the stats for both Hill and Waddle last season. Jalen Waddle put up 1,350 yards. That is number one yards for nearly every team in the league. Mm-hmm. Tyreek Hill just happened to put up 1,700 yards last season. I mean, it's like between if you get start a season thinking I've got two wide receivers, between them are going to put up 3,000 yards, you've got something special. Going back to it, we mentioned about the running backs here, and obviously Mostert's he's turned up. A-Chain, I can't remember who drafted him, and we're like, we made fun of his size, and he's undersized for the NFL. How's he going to cope? He's clearly coping very well. They've now got Jeff Wilson coming back as well. Where does he fit in now?
He does turn that three-headed monster.
I think A-Chain's obviously in IR now, isn't he? He's going to miss 4 weeks. So obviously they can't run Mostert into the ground because we've seen his injury history. We've seen it doesn't take much to bang him up. So they need to be clever. They need to be patient on that front. And I think all three of them will get game time if they're fit.
Yeah, I think they brought Ahmed into the game a bit last week as well, and he didn't really look out of place when he came into the game either. So they've obviously got a running back room there that they're set for a while. We spoke about, I think last week, about the Lions being set in the running back room for the next couple of years, but the Dolphins certainly are now.
And how many games have they had this year where they've actually rested most of their team the last quarter as well because they've just blown teams away? Yeah. And they've got that luxury just now where they can actually start resting a lot of the starters.
That's actually scary because Tyreek Hill's got 814 yards in these games this year, and he's probably missed a quarter of most of them.
Yeah. So after 5 games to have that amount of yards is just mental. It is just mental. I completely forgot what I thought I was going to say there.
Sorry, bud.
No, it's fine. I was looking at the depth chat. We'll go back to the depth chat and see what I was going to say. What I was going to say, you were saying about pulling the starters out. what that's meaning is the guys who are effectively the backups, they're getting valuable game time. They're getting a quarter, half a quarter. They're not getting a series or a drive. They're getting they can get judged on their ability in the game and see how they're. So if they are relied on because of an injury, whatever, McDaniels has seen them playing game time. They can see what they can do. That's got to be a huge advantage because a lot of times backups are backups and they come in emergencies and you're not sure how they're going to go. But this is letting him judge them in a game situation as well, which can only be a good thing for the Dolphins. We touched on the defense here, so who's a stud in that defense, Scud? Who is it, or is it a unit?
I think they're doing it as a team, to be honest with you. Last year, I thought when Bradley Chubb came in, he would have been a difference maker, and you can sort of see him starting to warm up just now this season. He's taking his time, he's into the system now. You can see him come in. It's Van Ginkel, I think, goes under. We've talked about somebody who doesn't get enough praise. I think I don't like seeing him when we're playing them. But I do think he doesn't get enough respect for what he does. He's done really well this season so far. He started really well, but I do think he's a difference maker in the pass rush.
Yeah, I think he was one that last year kind of started showing a bit of what he can do, but yeah, he's definitely stepped up this year as well. Right, I've just realised we're wanking on about the Dolphins here. Right, let's flip it over. This is my turn to not big up a team now. So the Eagles, and I'm not going to take anything away from you win this game last week, Pat. So that's not where I'm going with this angle is. We have just spoke about the Chiefs not playing well, but just winning games and not performing to their ability. The Eagles were doing the same, and suddenly last week they're being caught out. What's going on with the Eagles this year, Pat? Why are they not performing at the levels that we're used to seeing with them?
It's early doors, so they're warming up. But I think obviously I was listening to the pod at the start of the week there, and Kevin actually nailed it. Obviously, Kevin being an Eagles fan, he's completely. He gave the Jets credit and stuff like that, but for me, he nailed it. The offense was on the pitch for so long against the Jets. They were absolutely shattered come the fourth quarter. The Jets ran them ragged. So they did. The defense ran them ragged because they were on the pitch for so long. And if you look at Jalen Hurts scrambling in the fourth quarter, he was exhausted. He was absolutely done in. So obviously they're not going to get that same type of game against the Dolphins. But that's certainly a model that other teams with limited abilities in offense could look to replicate. Because they did. I mean, you've seen the physical difference in them in the fourth quarter. They completely ran out of steam.
Yeah.
So I think they're doing enough to get by just now. I think if you look at like Devonta Smith and stuff like that, again, probably not really hit the ground running this year at all. But then AJ Brown on the other side of the field's obviously really ramped up after a bit of a slow start and really putting up the numbers. Goddard's really not been doing much again this year either. But again, they're built on a solid defence, so they're always going to be there and thereabouts. And they know they can rely on that defence as well in the bigger games. When it comes to crunch time in the playoffs, when you're playing against teams that want to go toe-to-toe with the likes of them, they'll be fine. I've got no concerns over the Eagles at all.
Yeah. So as a fantasy owner of both Dallas Goedert and Devonta Smith, I 100% agree on what have they been doing this season. But looking at, I'll give my opinion. So I think I don't understand why they picked him up. I don't know what he's going to bring to the team. Why have they picked up Julio Jones? Scott, what's the logic behind that?
Just another option. Take somebody off the field. If you've got, at the end of the day, the defence, if you're playing 3 wide receiver set, you're going to go to the other 2 first. And if Julio's anywhere near what Julio can do, he'll catch the ball, contested or not. He might not have the speed or the thing make away, but Julio was always a great contested ball catcher. And if you can get him in a good matchup, why not? It's costing you nothing. It's something extra to your room. But there have been people who have tried doing things like that and it's not worked. So I think the jury will be out on it massively. I do agree with you, mate. But it's Julio Jones. He's a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
Yeah.
So it's if you can get anything out of him, it's just maybe even if it's maybe trying to rest some of the guys, if they're trying to put too much on AJ and Smith, it could potentially be that, because Smith looked ropey last week for the bet. If it was the nicest word I can say about it, the drop passes and that. But then you said AJ was catching everything that was getting through his way, so it's maybe just another option for them when they're going 3 wideouts.
Yeah. So let's flip it over to the D. So the Eagles have got the number 2 run D in the league, which we spoke about the Dolphins' numbers on offense running the ball. The big issue the Eagles have got, and I was astounded when I read this, the Eagles have went through 15 DBs already this season, and we're only 5 games in. They are really struggling at the back end, and that's not what you want when you're coming up against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. It's really not. I know you're now thinking about it in your head, thinking, how's that going to play out? There's only one way that's going to play out. Something I want to focus on is Jalen Carter. Through his first 5 games, like we always knew he could do well, but he's played 5 games. He's got 11 combined tackles. He's hit the quarterback 4 times. He's got 3.5 sacks, and he's forced 2 fumbles. For someone in their first ever 5 NFL games, that's some start. What have you made him so far, Pat?
Scary good. And again, we were all told he was scary good right from the start before the draft. And the only reason he fell is obviously because of all his off-the-field problems. I think probably the Eagles couldn't believe their luck that he landed for him.
Yeah.
No, he seems like the real deal. If he can keep his head screwed the right way, then obviously, he's got a great career ahead of him.
Yeah. And that defensive system the Eagles have got, we spoke about it, it's just basically they've got Georgia playing at the back for them. It really is. I mean, Jalen Carter was a limited participant in practice, but I think he's going to be fine. I don't think there was anything major. I think Darius Slay, we spoke about the DBs, Darius Slay is struggling for them again this week, but yeah, Carter's just an absolute machine. I mean, like you said, they couldn't have believed their luck when he dropped to them. I mean, they've got some good players on D, and then you had somebody like him, you just must be thinking, we could hit this any better.
It's not fair.
Exactly.
I think the O-line might be a bit banged up going into this game, though. I think the Jets took out a few other guys.
Who's the other? I can't see him on the depth chart, so I'm assuming he's injured. I completely forgot his name. Who's the other lineman who's the other Georgia guy that he picked up? Picked up the 2.
Yeah.
Linebacker. Nolan Smith. I completely forgot his name for a second. The linebacker, he's not a lineman, so
it's no bad. You can line him up to Hassan Reddick as well.
So I mean, the line's obviously doing the job and under pressures, and they're stopping the run game as well. It's just can the line disrupt Tua enough to stop the DB worries becoming an issue? That's going to be the big question. Also, if you look at it last week, obviously the Panthers went 14 up on the Dolphins last week. They can't afford to let the Eagles do that, because the Eagles aren't going to let them back in as easy as the Panthers did last week. But yeah, I'm going to say it is match. It is game of the week. It is going to be match of the week. It's going to be a cracker.
Oh, it's going to be a field goal game.
But I mean, it sounds really daft, but it could easily do that because of how good both defenses are as well. They could just cancel each other out. I mean, or it could be a 40-40 tie going to overtime. It's just one of those games where it is so unpredictable.
Or maybe still get his 55-50 game. Who knows?
Probably the week he didn't predict it. Right, let's get some predictions for this game. Pat, where's this one going?
Well, hopefully it's game of the week. Hopefully it lives up to the billing. I think the Eagles will edge it.
Okay. Just before we come to you, this guy, I know you like your bets, but the bookies have got the Eagles favourites by 2 points on this. Do you think that's justified?
I do think the Eagles are justified to be ahead, and I think they'll cover that 2.5 points easily. Not easily, but I do think it'll be more than that in it, and I do think the Eagles will win. I think they'll be hurt, raging, pissed off, however you want to say it. They're going to be. Yep. They're going to come out and want to go for it. And we've seen them against the only really good defense, I'll say, the things Dolphins have played is the Bills, and that was a blowout against other way. So to me, and I've been in Philly, I think I just do fancy the Eagles in this one.
I can't see it. Anyway, looking at just before I went up prediction, I'm going to say this: the Eagles. This is a start of an absolute key run of games for the Eagles. This could, I know they're doing well at the moment, but the Eagles now, so they've got the Dolphins, they've got the Commanders, which we'll just ignore, Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, Cowboys. That's their next run of games. If they don't pick up a win this week, then they've not got any games. Well, they probably should beat Washington, but they're really getting into a tough part of the season where you'd want to be getting into that part of the season on form, your players playing at their best, the team playing at their best. Otherwise, who knows what's going to happen. But anyway, I'm going to say Dolphins because I can't root for the Eagles.
But you say that, but they got Dallas twice in that run, mate. That's just 2 gimmies for them.
I think the issues with the DBs in the back end for the Eagles, I think are going
to be massive.
I think the Dolphins are going to have too much for them. I think, I think it's going to be a huge game for either Hill or Waddle or both. I think both of them are going to get the yards, and it's going to come down to the protection that Tua gets from that Eagles line that's going to make a difference. I think. Right, guys, that's the 3 main games done. We're going to do the rest in one. So I think I've picked 6 games again. Yep, 6 games. Usual format. We'll tell you the game. You're going in one word who's going to win it. We'll do it clockwise as usual. So Scott, Pat, myself will do it. So first game, Thursday Night Football, Jacksonville against the Saints.
Jags.
Yeah, Jags. I'm going to say the same. Browns against the Colts.
Browns.
Colts.
After seeing Minshew's performance last week, and I don't know what that was about, Deshaun Watson back in practice today, I've got to go Browns with this one.
I think he's going to miss it. He's down as doubtful again.
Full participant in practice today.
All right, I came up with my fantasy team saying that it's projected for 0 this week.
I'll check it now. I'm pretty sure.
To be fair, Walker done no bad last week either. Anyway.
Yeah, there was one of the NFL journalists basically said he was full practice today. I can't remember who it was, and it's now not loading up on my phone. Where's it went? Anyway, I can't find it at the moment. Somebody did say, rap sheet, practicing day with first. No, he's not a full practice. Basically, said he's practicing today. So, same goes with him. But PJ Walker did a decent enough job last week. Commanders against the Giants.
Draw. No. Is Stingley back? Is Jones back? Do we know?
Let me quickly check what the injury reports is, if I can find it. So I think it is. I'll go with the team that's not for New York that claims to be for New York. Daniel Jones, limited practice, so he's back in.
I'll go with the Giants then. Giants.
Pat?
I'll go with the Commanders.
Yeah, the Giants are just a dumpster fire this season. Washington are just a slightly smaller dumpster fire. Going with the Commanders in this one. Where am I going next? Falcons at the Bucks.
Falcons at the Bucks.
Yeah, low scoring game. Bucks deal come out on top.
Yeah, I think we gave Baker Mayfield a big up last week, and I think he'll carry them this week. I think it'll be a Bucks one as well. Steelers at Rams.
Rams.
Yeah, Rams for me as well. And before we get to the last one, Rap Sheet's just tweeted out, Kyle Shanahan tells reporters that Christian McCaffrey had an MRI that was encouraging and he considers him day-to-day at the moment. So, 49ers, Vikings.
49ers.
Yeah, they can beat the Vikings without him.
Yeah, that's the exact point I was going to make. Put Jordan Mason actually looked pretty decent last week. Put him in and you're still going to beat the Vikings.
No. We need Christian McCaffrey, especially for my fantasy teams.
be fair, fantasy I need all the Vikings offense because I've got every single one of them. I know. I say every week and nothing ever happens. Anyway, right, so let's get to talking about fantasy. What a lead in that was. Good, thanks very much. So we're going to do our usual sleeper and stud for the fantasy. So we're going to kick it off with the QBs. Scud, you're up first.
I'll go for stud. I'll go Tua, even though I bet against him in the game. I still think he's going to have a great game. I can see him, as you said, with if he gets the time to throw, I can see it being dangerous, especially with the Eagles not having any DBs. So Tua for my stud, and Dobbs for the sleeper. And I've no other reason for that. It's the only one I could pick. No, he's actually been doing okay, and I think he's got a good chance this week. So I think a good chance to put up some numbers. So a shot of dark into it.
Aye. If you're ring, you're ring. What's the worst that can happen?
I'm usually ranked. This as the wife.
Oh, but running backs, where are you going?
So I'm going to go for probably what's going to be the worst game of the week. With the Bears against the Raiders. It looks like Fields is out and Jimmy G's out. So I'm going to go for Josh Jacobs to run amok for the Raiders. So he's my top RB this week.
Yep. And who's your sleeper RB?
And my sleeper one, we talked about him earlier on. If he's fit, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to finally show up, show us all that he's a top class rookie.
Yeah, I think we've all been hoping for that so far this season. He's just not done it yet. So, yeah, good shout. I'm going to follow similarity with you here. With the wide receiver, and I think stud this week's going to be Devontae Adams. I think he's going to put up a big game this week.
Be Brian Hoyer throwing him the ball?
Doesn't matter who's throwing the ball. I'm playing the Bears. I could be throwing him the ball and he'd still have a big game. I had put that up, and I had thought of that before the Jimmy G injury. But if you're a backup quarterback, you need your number one receiver to be the guy to help you out.
Yep.
And I know you're going to talk about somebody else in a minute, Scud, that'll help him out, so I'll not give that game away yet. Sleeper this week, I knew what team I was going for. It was just watch of the two wide receivers. So I'm going Green Bay for a sleeper, and I just can't think if it'll be Dobbs or Reed. And I'm going to go Dobbs because he's in my fantasy team. That's the only reason why. But I think one of the two of them, I think, will have a big game this week. So which one it is? It'll probably be the opposite one from I picked. They're away to Denver. Yeah, I think the Packers wide receivers should have a productive week this week. Back to yourself, Scott, for tight ends.
Tight ends, stud Hawkinson for just for your fantasy team, mate. That's basically the only reason why. No, I just think they'll need him. They'll need to rely on him more with JJ not been out. They'll need to rely more on him and the rookie in Osborne. So he must take a step this year. He must be more involved in the passing game. He's usually always involved a lot, but I think he'll take another step forward this week. Rookie ties into yours nicely. Is Mayer. I'm not as confident now that I know he's out, but now that Jimmy G's out, but I still think he showed flashes last week against us, and I think he'll take me to jump on again. As you said, it is against the Bears, so he should hopefully have a better chance, because although we're banged up, we've still got a decent-ish defence. I'll bet on the Bears anyway, so we should hopefully have a chance this week as well.
He had a good game last week, actually. Seemed to kind of start breaking out a bit last week. Nothing too over the top, but he started to show what he can do.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's fine. So we're on D's, Pat.
So we're having a clean sweep here. So after having the running back, the wide receiver, the tight end, I'm going for the Raiders defence. So again, just because if it's Tyson Bagent, who's the starting QB, I expect him to be battered and bruised by the end of it. Loads of sacks, loads of interceptions. So can't see by the Raiders this week.
I should wait for Hoyer from a sleeper.
And well, I have literally just before we came on, because the Cowboys are on a bye week this week, and I got the defense I had to pick up, and I picked the Raiders D up as my team this week. So I endorse that decision.
And then for sleeper, I went with, and this was based on the fact I don't think I think it's got PJ Walker starting for the Browns. So I'm going to go with the Colts as your sleeper defense.
Yeah, I've had DeForest Buckner's had a good start to the season. Every time I was watching, there already seemed to be him that was on the quarterback.
Hanging for him.
Pretty much, aye. Was it no him? It was hanging for Jalen Hurts when he threw that pass last week.
You're just like, no, you're not getting near me, pal.
And I'm going to take the Stu role this week and go with the kickers. So I've decided that both of these players. Just international. Now that Hoyer's there, I'm not going to score as many touchdowns, so we kick a million field goals. I feel that these two could both be either my stud or my sleeper. So I'm going to go with my stud, and Keith will be happy with this one. Irn Cru. I think he's going to be my stud this week, because that game against Tampa Bay, there could be a lot of field goals in that game. I think you said it was going to be a low-scoring game, but I think it could potentially be a lot of field goals in it. And the other one I'm going to go with stud, sleeper, whatever way you want to look at it, because it could do either way. Believe it or not, is on the other side of the field. And it's Chase McLaughlin for the exact same reason as why I picked Irn Cru. I think that game is going to have a lot of field goals in it. So I went, this was easy. One stud, one sleeper, flip it around. Both studs, both sleepers. I'm going to go with Cru and McLaughlin facing off against each other. Oh, I think some good picks here, guys. Let's hope the Raiders do well this week.
We need them, mate.
And you said about Hawkinson. I've been waiting for Hawkinson to step up the whole season.
Told you it's going to happen this week.
Aye, well, thought it was going to happen last week. I had him and Addison and Kirk Cousins, and none of them done anything last week for me. Anyway, we digress. That is the end of the pod, guys. Thank you very much for your contributions. I can't even speak. Scud, thanks very much as always.
Pleasure, pal. Pleasure.
Pat, enjoy the rest of your celebrations before the Jets play this weekend, because you might not last too long.
I'll enjoy my bye week. Thanks very much.
Everyone, thanks for listening, for watching, following, subscribing to everything. You find us on all your socials. Find us where you get all your podcasts. The crew will be back next week for the review crew. Hopefully the games that we've predicted are going to be good games. That's the games we'll be talking about, because we've not done very well over the last couple of weeks for that, to be honest with you. Thanks again. We'll catch you all on Tuesday, and we'll catch you soon.